All right, as I mentioned, the president has begun focusing on a number of issues, but the administration has begun the process of deporting about 12,000 people that recently arrived at Del Rio, Texas, on the U.S. Mexican border. Now, this latest surge of mostly Haitian immigrants is completely overwhelming the local resources and authorities. Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas testified before the Senate Homeland Security Committee today that the Biden administration has a plan to deal with the crisis, and they are working that plan.
$200,000 border encounters over 2 straight months, a record in decades, for over decades. And you're telling me that this is success? Are you happy with what's happening at the border now? Is this success?
Senator, as I said then and I say now, we have a plan. We're executing on our plan, and we will continue to do so.
But you just testified that it's working. I'm just trying to understand. Is this success? Are you telling me that this is successful? Your plan is successful currently?
Senator, we are not finished in the execution of our plan, and I never suggested otherwise. We continue to do the work that we are required to do to secure our border. That is an ongoing process, and indeed we are executing it.
Are you happy with your progress?
Senator, we need to do better, and we need to do more, and we are committed to doing so, and we are doing so.
Again, that was Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary Mayorkas, in exchange with Missouri Senator Josh Hawley today on Capitol Hill. Here with more is Congressman Andy Biggs, who spent the weekend touring the southern border and saw firsthand the unfolding humanitarian crisis. Congressman, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Tony, good to be with you.
All right, let me just ask you point blank, is the plan working?
Well, the plan's working if you want an open border that puts the entire country in danger, both from these transnational organizations that are controlling the border, illegal aliens who have criminal and malevolent intentions who come across, the environmental problems that are coming across, the communicable diseases that are being disseminated throughout the country. If that's your plan, then you get an A+, because that's what's happening now, and that's what's been happening for the last period of time ever since Joe Biden came in and he and Secretary Mayorkas dismantled the operations and the policies that were actually working.
Now, Congressman Biggs, I know you represent a portion of Arizona, so you're not unfamiliar with the crisis on the border. But this past weekend, as I mentioned, you led a group of your colleagues to the southern border to tour the border. I believe you were in Del Rio. Is this crisis as bad as it appears, or is it even worse?
Well, I wasn't in Del Rio, but I can tell you I'll be back in Del Rio soon. But here's the deal. It is far worse than most people can imagine. So I was getting intelligence reports from my friends on the ground in Del Rio. Started off with 2,000, grew to 4,000, then 8, then 10. And by the next day, it was over 14. And then the next morning, over 15,000 people. There was no sanitation facilities. There was not enough food, not enough water. It was just a disaster. Then you've got the environmental disaster on top of it. There were rapes there. There was violence there. This is absolutely incredible. In other portions of the border, the smuggling routes that I was on, just unbelievable stuff that goes on. And quite frankly, Tony, it's been revealed to me that there actually was notification as early as June that they needed to do something in Del Rio because they were anticipating more. And right now, just so you know, there's been testimony saying that they're continuing to watch another 60 to 70,000 folks coming up toward our border as you and I speak.
Now, Secretary Mayorkas, as I said, testified today before the Senate. He was down in Del Rio yesterday, and he said, don't come across the border And he stressed that only Haitians who arrived in the United States before July the 29th were eligible for temporary protected status under the Biden administration. So they're just now beginning this exportation to deport these individuals. I mean, they've been letting them come across the border. They created this problem by not enforcing the laws on the border.
Yeah, you are so right. And I was getting additional information that many of the individuals from Haiti, they're actually, just so you know, most of them, these Haitians, they were in other places in South America as long ago as 2010 when there was natural disasters in Haiti, and they came over to these other nations. And then they will tell you that they came up because they believed President Joe Biden had told them that if they came up, he would let them into the country. That is what they believe. And why wouldn't they believe it? Because this administration has not taken a stance policy-wise or even verbally, rhetorically wise, telling people to stay away until now. And now Mayorkas is saying, well, don't come. The problem is, previously when he said don't come, he said, don't come now. So everybody believed that they could still come. So I don't have much trust in the veracity of Secretary Mayorkas anyway.
Congressman Biggs, there are so many issues that are coming to fruition right now from the seeds sown by this administration just in the short 8 months that they've been in office. I'm not sure how you keep up with all of them in the Freedom Caucus, but this morning you released a statement regarding one of the provisions in the National Defense Authorization Act, which is an annual reauthorization of the military. The funding has policies in it. But in this one, the Democrats have inserted a measure that would force all females over the age of 18 to register for the draft. First time ever. This is a major break in with the past and a major change in policy for our military.
It most certainly is. And the way we couched our opposition, we tried to leave it open. So it's clear that if a woman wanted to join the military, if the woman wanted to participate in the armed forces, she can. But right. She should not be compelled to sign up for selective service. I don't think anybody should, to be honest with you, but this is brand new policy from this administration, which basically everything they've done, Tony, is to remake America into this kind of compulsory state, whether it's vaccines, whether you just name it, but now selective service for women, many of whom fewer than 1% will ever actually serve in the military anyway. But you're going to compel them to join selective service. That's just a change in who we fundamentally are, because again, it's compulsory.
Well, here's my concern, Congressman Biggs, is as you look at the policies that they're pushing onto our military, you know, whether it's the vaccine that they're forcing members of the military to get, or it's the transgender policy that they're pursuing, or you name it, what they're going to experience, just like we're seeing this crisis at the border, we're going to have a crisis of retention in our military. We're going to have a crisis of recruitment. And so what has not been around since Vietnam, we could see a draft back, because this all-volunteer service is going to evaporate because they've made service in the military so unattractive and burdensome that people won't do it. And then we'll see our daughters being drafted.
That is such a great point, and I agree with you. I mean, when you think about the woke culture, which now has inculcated the upper brass and upper echelons of our military. Look, you're talking about the vaccine mandates that they have, the indoctrination into CRT, which is taking hold. This notion where General Milley says, hey, you know what? I'm going to study white rage. I think we should study white rage and Marxism. And those types of things that are going on in our military, people will leave. People don't want to serve. I've received word from people who we've spent $1 million or more training to be pilots or other highly skilled workers that you need in a modern military. They're
getting
leaving.
out. They
They're
are.
leaving.
Congressman, we got to leave it there. We're up against a break, out of time. Always great to talk with you. We're going to be tracking this very closely.